Hey, we're back, and we're doing it again. We got a different story today. Not quite so... It's a teaching. So today is going to be answering sort of the question. After Jesus comes back, after he's given his spirit to the disciples, after he's shown himself and told them what they're going to do, what did the early church look like? What did the church look like after that? What did it look like? What do you think, Mia? Right. We're going to find out. And we're going to head right into Acts chapter 2. Let's do this. Go team!
Go team!
So what was the early church up to after Jesus left them with their mission? Well, it says in the book of Acts that they devoted themselves to the apostles' teaching. Essentially what they would do is they would share the story of Jesus with each other, reflect on his teachings, and they would teach other people about Jesus' ways. Wait a minute, what about Romans? What about outsiders, foreigners? Am I supposed to treat... They're not my neighbors, are they?
Okay, again, it's not who your neighbor is, it's about are you neighborly?
But not Samaritans, right? They're not my neighbors.
I don't think you're getting it. Let's start over.
They also dedicated themselves to fellowship and breaking bread together.
Pizza's here!
Woo! Yeah! Pizza's here! Let's eat!
Wait, we gotta pray. Who's gonna pray?
I can do it! I got it! I'm gonna pray just like Jesus prayed. They basically spent a lot of time together and taught people about the faith. During this time, awe came upon all of the apostles and the people who saw them because of all the miracles they were doing, all the incredible signs that were taking place in their midst.
Are you Jesus' disciples? I heard you could help him. He's sick.
I think I can help him. I think he did something like this.
Whoa! I'm all better.
It worked.
It worked.
It's finished.
Whoa, I've only ever seen one man eat 6 pizzas before.
I am in absolute awe.
They held all things in common, the first apostles and disciples, meaning they shared everything they had, and people from all over came to join their ranks.
I must be a part of this group.
Yeah, well, it's, I will warn you, it's a little different. It's a little countercultural, if you will. We hold all things in common, so do you have many possessions?
Yeah.
Well, that kind of the rule is you're going to have to kind of part with some of those, sell all your possessions so we can give all those in need. Are you okay with that?
Yeah, who needs money?
Yeah, it is pretty cool around here. Now that is miraculous. Day by day they did this, giving thanks to God, breaking bread, teaching each other these lessons, sharing the story of Jesus. And you may be wondering, well, how many people would dedicate themselves to such a life? Well, it said everybody who saw them held them in high regard. You know, these disciples of Jesus are really something.
They've always been all right to me.
Only an act of God could do this.
Yeah, I just was sick and all of a sudden one of them just healed me.
I wouldn't have believed it hadn't seen himself.
Day by day, God added to their numbers, which is really, really incredible. And that's what happened, basically. After Jesus leaves his disciples with his spirit and tells them they're going to do incredible things, he sends them out into the world as they go about doing the work of, well, the church. The work that we're still doing to this day. Sharing the story, helping people in need, sharing what we have with everybody, being neighborly, practicing this thing that Jesus practiced in his eating with people, feeding people, healing people, caring for people. It's awesome. That's something actually that we focus on very specifically, at least at our church, in this part of the year usually. Things are a little bit different now, but we're still giving attention to this How are we honoring the gifts that we've been given? We focus on how we're caring for all that we have. And when we look at this story in Acts, we see that all the disciples lived together, they ate together, they taught together, they shared the story with their neighbors. They did amazing things. The church does that. We gather in worship and we gather in study. We gather around service projects. We do great things. We do great things like serving in schools and in food pantries. We do adopt-a classes. We help our brothers and sisters and walk alongside our servants in Haiti. We do so many neat things as a church. I think it's hard in this time because it feels like we can't necessarily do the exact same things. But some of the things we can still do, like practice generosity in our ways and our words. Some of us are still even able to work in the midst of this and still able to get an income. And I hear from them all the time, how can I help? What's a way that I can help people who are suffering and struggling? And we know we can be generous. We can support food pantries. We can care for our next door neighbors. It's great, great stuff. I like in the story that it says they did this with such gladness and with such consistency that they just had this resounding reputation of admiration. It says they were held in high regard because they were known for how well they shared. They were known for how well they served and that their words meant something. So in the midst of our challenging times, we may feel like nothing is normal. We may feel like nothing is the way it should be, that everything's just changed so much. But the truth is, nothing's really changed when it comes to what it means to be a part of the church. In this time, we are still being called to share the story. Maybe not from a pulpit, but through this and social media and how we care for our neighbors. I mean, sharing the story of love and compassion, of sympathy and concern for our neighbors. Maybe it's over the phone instead of shaking someone's hand at church. Nothing's changed in our responsibility as a call to be imitators of Jesus. So think about it. Think of how a phone call and a letter could do the same thing that we heard about in the story, offer healing. Think of somebody who's alone and receiving that letter or phone call from someone who knows and loves them. That can offer real healing. Think of how admirable it would be to be the kind of person who's willing to run an errand for somebody who has need, who has maybe a medical concern that makes them very afraid to go out. Think of how important it is now to be able to, if you are still working, to support a food pantry, to support somebody in need. So many folks have said, like I said, how can I help? I think that's awesome. That's the heart of a disciple. How are we holding all these things in common, knowing we got to do this thing together and care for our neighbors? And then what does it look like to do that with great joy? So how can you offer healing? How can you offer healing to someone this week? How can you offer generosity? If finances are tough, which they are in so many places and so many homes, what does it mean to just offer generosity of your time or your concern? Maybe it's make a card. Maybe it's say hi to a neighbor, write something in chalk on their sidewalk, or have if you're able to do a little painting and leave that on their step and let them know you're thinking about them. That's generous. That's generous in a really powerful way. We still have an opportunity to be joyfully generous, so that when people look to you, they go, man, wow, that's a really thoughtful, caring person. Because that's, I think, what those first disciples and apostles were experiencing. It's why they grew to their numbers, because that kind of generosity and care and concern for your neighbors, it's infectious. So, who did you relate with in the story? Was there anything you thought, whoa, we could do something like that? Or, oh, I struggle with those kind of things too. Think about it. Talk about it in your family. What was something that was frustrating or confusing? Discuss it together. And as always, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time. Bye.